Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Rush Podcast, a great place to play games and be better. I am not the host, Corey Dierig. It's me, the PC Muscle Race, LeRon Dawkins. I am subbing in for Corey because Corey, life just happened. That's all. Nothing bad. Just Corey's just not here right now with us. He may show up, later on the show, but if not, Corey's taking that off. You deserve it.
More secret missions. That's what it is. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge.
Yeah. Yeah. Alongside me, as always, is the mad pharmacist herself, Stephanie Klimov. Hey.
Howdy.
How goes it?
It goes. I had a job interview today, and it started off pretty good, and it ended with me bonding over a couple of them over Zelda video games. So,
hey.
I think I got some brownie points for that.
Yeah, you might be in there. I was about to ask something that was going to be particularly insensitive. I'm not going to ask that question.
Well, now you have to ask it because you said, "Okay, I'm not one of those like sensitive people." Well,
you were affected by that assassination that happened a few months ago, weren't you?
I mean, not directly affected,
Yeah,
but
not directly
part of
affected.
my parent company of my current employer. That is correct.
Yeah. How? Hold on. Hold on real quick. Let me finish the introductions. PK Power Pat Klein is back in the house with us tonight. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. I am here.
We missed you last week, man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
for real.
you.
It felt like an absolute vacuum. It did.
It was a tough week. I don't know what you mentioned, but I unfortunately had a cat pass away that week, so I was not exactly in the best mind frame. So
we hear you. Like our fur babies are, our babies. Except for our real babies, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, fur babies are more important than real babies.
I have no children, so I can't speak for myself.
I also have no children, so I am speaking purely from experience.
All right, so pivoting back to you, Stephanie, because I just need to know, how did things change for your company, in the wake of that whole thing? And by the way, have we gotten an update on Luigi Mangione?
I feel like that
accepted over $300,000 in support for legal fees.
I feel like it fell out of the news cycle.
Oh yeah, it fell out of the news cycle, but I also feel like the revolution is definitely, like, to quote Kendrick Lamar, the revolution is definitely being televised right now.
Here's my one word of caution to the listeners, not necessarily to you guys specifically, because I'm interviewing with other jobs, and one of them is with a health insurance company. Now, they are a not-for-profit health insurance company. However, even I did not know that, so I can guarantee you that the majority of the population does not know this health insurance company is not-for-profit. And they, even though this is a different company, not the one I work for that had the CEO assassinated, are trying to get ways to kind of anonymize, like make anonymous the people that work for the insurance company out of fear of people's lives. So my point is that this whole, like, let's rally and just fucking kill all these bad guys. And I mean, I know there's a difference between a CEO that makes and profits multi-millions of dollars versus just someone who works there. But I think we got to be a little careful about how we're doing this, because we have, I work in the healthcare industry. I work in the managed care health insurance. I'm actually trying to help get access to care while not bankrupting the system. But now we are afraid that we are going to be targeted at any time just by association. Mm-hmm. So just throwing caution with that really bothers me when people are just saying, people are now just all of a sudden they have the authority and judgment to determine who is okay to die, who, like, when it's okay to murder and when it's not okay to murder. That's not
Yeah.
okay. But going back to my current job, and that no changes specific to me, but
Mhm.
there's just been various communications from the executives to us, kind of reassuring us that, you know, what our mission is, and this is a tough time. You know, I hate to say it, I didn't read it because I didn't care too much. So just in case
I didn't
people
mean to
think
put you.
that I love the CEO too, I just don't
Mhm.
give a fuck.
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you in the hot seat just now.
No, and I appreciate the question. Not the hot seat at all. It actually gave me a bit of a platform to kind of say what weighs on me. I just think it is a little too easy for people to say, yeah, this person needs to be, you know, fucking shot. And it trickles down to our kids.
Yeah,
My son hears that kind of thing, and we need to be better role models.
yeah.
So,
I don't. I'm never going to condone something like that, but I do understand the messaging that goes behind it. It's like it's time to stop putting profits over people. You know,
absolutely.
and this is not even a political statement. This is a real life statement, especially, you know, like in with the way our economy is right now and stuff like that, and the way things are going. The cost of living keeps going up. I heard something really interesting over the weekend that, you know, our parents, you know, like our parents, like the three of us here, you know, and Corey included if he was on here tonight, right? Our
Mhm.
parents, like, they get on us about like the way we spend our money on stuff, you know, like video games, for example. As a matter of fact, we talked about this last week. You know, one of our topics was about, like, you know, like the stigma of gaming and stuff like that. And one of the things was, like, you know, a lot of older generations like frown upon us for, like, you know, gaming and stuff like that. And it dawned on me by listening to something it was over the weekend, that basically we spend money on things that back when our parents were like eking their living out and stuff like that, those things weren't expense. You know, they were an expense. You know, like, for example, like, you know, like televisions right now, you can get a really good fucking television for under $500. For under, like, shit, sometimes you get a really good fucking television for like $300 and stuff like that. And I mean like 60 plus inches, you know, like you know, like 4K HDR and all this stuff. Whereas like a nice like 55-inch television back in the day for them costs about $3,000. You know, now refrigerators are, in my opinion, refrigerators are kind of expensive. You know, like I feel like for what a refrigerator does, they're overpriced already. But the fact that, you know, like I understand why our parents used to have absolute fits when something happened to the refrigerator because the refrigerator was fucking expensive back in the day. You know, but now we turn around and we, you know, but so everything's kind of flipped now, because like what was an expense to them is no longer an expense to us. And it's not because the dollars changed. Like, you know, like in all honesty, like technology's gotten more, you know, stringent to the point where, you know, like this stuff is not like, you know, like some astronomical price, which is also why, like, you know, we have what's called planned obsolescence. If you've never heard that term before, you've definitely heard it it's cheaper to replace an item that just broke
Mm,
down than it is to get it repaired. A microwave, a washing machine, a dishwasher, you know, a television and stuff like that. Whereas like back then, like that was the stuff like they would definitely pay the money to get that repaired before they replace it.
yep. Hmm.
One thing that's flipped on its end, you know, and I think now like a lot of our boomer parents, boomer and beyond parents, are starting to wrestle with is the cost of living. Like shit, like houses now that cost like $400,000 cost maybe like $50,000 to them back then. And guess what? You know, they could honestly do it off of a single payer salary.
Yep.
Whereas we are dealing with the fact that we need to have like a combined household, like, you know, both the head of the household and the spouse are making a wage, and there's a possibility we have to rent out a room to somebody to get these mortgages under control.
Yeah. Hmm. And I do
Yeah.
feel like healthcare has leaned in that direction.
Yeah.
And we can go down a rabbit hole maybe someday if After Dark comes back. We can talk about that. But it's one thing I will close with, though, that, so again, it's not like I'm a CEO sympathizer, not by any means, but I have worked for a non-for-profit health insurance company and a for-profit company, aka the one I'm working for now. The culture, the dynamic, the way a company run is very different between the two. It's kind of
Okay.
ironic that the for-profit company keeps cutting and downsizing and laying off, and but for some reason CEO keeps getting lots of money, whereas the not-for-profit barely saw any of that, and all the money came back into the company to make us better and keep prices down. Just saying. So there's something to be
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, that's a topic for another time. But Pat, you have anything you just want to shout out or just add to the ether of the conversation?
No, I think you guys kind of covered it very well. I mean, I'm definitely anti-corporation.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that literally like there are people who work for the job, and then there's me who like says, I'm only doing what you pay me for, and that's it. Not very loyal whatsoever to non-living entity. But
Yeah.
no, it's I don't know. It's like it's sad because you don't want to see people getting shot and murdered, you know. But at the same time, it's like everything else isn't working. So like how are like we supposed to get attention onto the problem? I
I'm
wish there was
glad
a
you
better
said
way.
that. I'm glad you said that. It's like when the doctor tells you we have to re-break a bone so it sets properly. That's
Hmm.
that's what I feel is happening right now. And yeah, the Boss Rush podcast, we are not trying to be political or like a wayest like podcast tonight. It
Hmm.
was just on my mind because like because like I'm cheering for Stephanie. In fact, that she interviewed for a new position, but it reminded me that like where she's working at basically was a hotbed of news information a few months ago and stuff like that. So I'm sorry if I made anyone in this conversation or is listening out there, squeamish about this stuff, but I'm I bleed blue, so I'm always going to worry about the state of affairs, state of my fellow man or woman, or trans person, when it comes to these things, because guess what? These are all of our lives. It might not feel like it to you, but these are all of our lives. All right. So real quickly, I just want to let you guys know if you want to support the Boss Rush podcast, go to our Patreon at patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. Subscribing to the tiers on the Patreon can grant you perks like our exclusive content, brand new exclusive content, I should say, as well as early access to Boss Rush After Dark when it returns, and much more. As always, though, your viewership and your listenership are enough for us. Please subscribe to the Boss Rush Network on YouTube and give this video a like in the process if you're checking it out right now. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or even if you don't, we would love it if you just leave us a rating and a nice review on those platforms. Like I said, don't worry, we won't tell on you. It'll be our little secret. We just want some love and support. That's all. You can find all of our other stuff, such as banters, features, listicles, reviews, and much, much more over on our website, which is at bossrush.net. Before we get into tonight's topics, Steph, Pat, y'all got anything coming up that you want to let the our listeners and viewers know about that's on the forefront?
Not I. I've last recorded with Adam/Crashdroid. I'm kind of focusing a little bit on the website, the writing side of things before PAX East, and then hopefully I'll be back with some more spotlight content.
Cool.
Yep. As for book club, we'll be recording the Ghost of Tsushima book club here shortly for all of our patrons, and that'll be coming up at the end of the month. Then we will have a double feature book club for March, which will be Mouthwashing, and then followed by Date Everything. And then we just actually got a winner for our book club of April, and so we will be playing Tales of Grace's F. So we got some exciting stuff coming your way.
Nice.
Damn it! I got an email from Capcom, so I opened it thinking I might be able to get like an early thing from Monster Hunter Wilds.
Did you?
We are
Yeah,
unfortunately able to extend you an invitation at this time. Thank you. Ah,
Hmm.
those buttholes.
that's okay though. That's okay though, because I'm just gonna. I already pre-ordered a copy. I'm gonna make the best out of it. I still love you guys. I still love you, Capcom. Y'all like my favorite like third party. Y'all my favorite. So I still love you. Nothing wrong with this. Yeah, I don't really have. Well, I was hoping I would have some news to announce, but I don't. This sucks.
It's all right. We can't have news all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Like the one thing I was kind of hoping and wishing and praying for is, and I'm not even mad. I'm not. Okay, guys. Let's get into our topics. You know what? We can go in any order we want to. We can talk about the main discussion topic, or we can talk about the secondary one.
Hey, it don't matter. I mean, I'm looking at probably the first one, growing discontent. We can
Okay.
start there.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well. Yeah. I. I'm not even gonna lie. I threw this topic together, but as I flesh everything out, I think we have a very good topic to talk about tonight, and that's about the growing discontent among gamers. And I'm calling this technically a call for quality and innovation. So it's a call of action, basically. So let's be real, everyone here. Gaming has never been bigger than what it is right now. We've got massive blockbuster titles, flashy new hardware, and a worldwide community that's more connected than ever. But here's the thing: for all the hype and the growth, there's a growing sense of frustration bubbling under the surface. As gamers, we are feeling very let down. And you know, there's a lot of sites and sources for all this. Whether it's half baked game launches, overpriced consoles, or hardware that doesn't live up to the promises, it is hard not to feel like the game industry is dropping the ball. If not dropping a ball, is dropping the major ball. You know, and for us as a community that's poured so much passion as well as cash into gaming and stuff like that, this is starting to become a very tough pill to swallow here. So let's talk about some of this stuff. I just want to say real quickly to everyone's out there listening or watching it right now, please chime in. Like, you know, hit us up in our comment section. You know, like we'd love to hear about you as we talk about these things and see what you guys are feeling, how you guys are thinking. Because I don't know, I could have it all wrong, or you know, we could be talking about the wrong stuff here tonight. But uh I got a talking point right now though, and it's about unfinished games that keep getting released. And
Mhm.
and I'm not gonna go to like any current games because yeah, there were a few last year in 2024 that came out in woeful states. We're gonna go back to the one to the ones that basically kicked this whole thing off because like we were bored in the house and the only thing we had were video games to play. So when we think back about Cyberpunk 2077 and Battlefield 2042, games that were supposed to be groundbreaking and game changing experiences, like my God,
Mhm.
they launched and they were riddled with like bugs, missing features, performance issues, for a lot, it made the game nearly unplayable. You know, as a matter of fact, you know, like I will admit, on the Crossroads show, I said a few times, I was like, hey, like this is what you get for holding on to a base PS4 and the Xbox One S, right? you know,
Mhm.
thinking you were going to play a game that was getting launched at the end of those console cycles and thinking you were going to be all right.
Yeah, but that's a little
Yeah.
different than games being released kind of just thrown haphazardly together and just, I don't know, just has so many, glitches and bugs. And I gotta say, this is probably my top point of discontent as a gamer. And I'm wondering, just for sake of discussion, do you think part of that is influenced by, like, say, back in the day when we didn't have the technology to be able to regularly patch things, and it's like what you get on the cartridge or disc is pretty much what you got. So maybe there was a focus on quality, where now when it's, I wouldn't say easy, but technically, patching in something is just, oh, well, you can just patch it. Do you feel like that ability to patch, which ultimately is a good thing when needed, because everybody needs to patch at some point, I'm sure. But do
Yeah.
you think the ease of the ability to patch things maybe makes these developers less careful because they lean on that excuse that they can patch
I
it
like
later?
how you danced around not calling them lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get to the root behind why they'd be lazy. Are you lazy because you can always fix it later? Because if you are working with no backup plan, you fucking double, triple, quadruple check. But if you have a backup, I feel like you're like, oh well, we always got plan B. I don't know.
I think patching is a very bad safety net for developers and publishers to go off of. If I'm being honest, because like back in the day, honestly, before PS3 and the Xbox One, wait,
Xbox
PS3 and
One.
Xbox 360,
Three-
Xbox One is PS4. Um,
Okay.
yeah, back before that, there was a time when every year. I'll use Street Fighter as an example. You had Street Fighter 2, you had Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, you had Street Fighter 2 crap. I'm getting, but basically those were the patches, but they were released as new games and stuff like that. And like there was that going on. Um, you know, but I feel you on that one.
Mhm. All right, so I don't think it's not necessarily the patching. Like patching's a little bit of the problem, but I feel like a lot of the reasons we got these games unfinished is because of the push for shareholders, and
That's
like
a big one.
Mm.
That's a big
making
one.
that profit. So I think it's because they need to get the game out to satisfy whatever the board needs done, or to get the shareholder their dividends back, and then they think, well, let's get it out now, and then we can patch it because of that. But I feel like back when companies were like back then companies were more foreign, and Nintendo and Japan, and I don't think Japan like really dealt with the shareholder aspect. They weren't as corporate as America is.
Mm.
And
Mhm,
so
mhm.
they made their games, based on the quality. But now that games are, becoming less less from like I guess now that games are more being developed here with that capitalistic sense, with the big companies like Ubisoft and EA, we got the shareholders that we have to worry about now, and all the investors. And I think that that's really what the drive is to get these unfinished games out. Is we aren't giving you any more money. We aren't, we need results now.
What's wild about that statement though is that like the shareholders are the ones that have the freaking like the freaking iron gauntlet. But the thing about it is the shareholders are always going to be fucking paid. They're going to be paid to the detriment of the development, the staff, the marketing, even the product. They're going to be paid regardless of all that shit. And it makes zero sense to me that like I feel like the shareholders, if enough people in the companies stood up to the shareholders can only fire but so many people before they start losing money themselves and stuff like that. I feel like I'm not saying like everybody in the industry is spineless, but I also feel like like there's only a few outliers that will stand up to what the shareholders are saying, and actually are willing to bear the brunt of some of this. Like Glenn Schofield comes to mind, for example. Callisto Protocol, he tried his best to stand up to Crafton. The Callisto Protocol got he was like, this game needs 3 more months. 3 more months. What I mean, yeah, 3 more months. The Dead Space remake would have been out. Okay, but 3 more months, in my opinion, would have been what the Callisto Protocol needed. And I actually enjoyed the Callisto Protocol. I feel like it could have been. I feel like it could have been a better game. Actually, there was a better game hiding in there somewhere. But I don't know. Like, given what we know on the inside of the industry now, we understand why this shit happens. But we're always going to advocate for our fellow gamers in the community, though, because like we also shell out like top dollar for these titles. We're not always getting free games and review codes. I thought I was going to get a review code from Monster in a while, so I guess not. But I'd already pre-ordered the Ultra Premium Edition. So like if I'm guaranteed to spend more than MSRP for a game, it's going to be for Monster Hunter. And yes, I bought the Premium Edition, $120. I got it on a deep discount though, but but yeah, like if we're gonna spend out money for top dollar for these titles and stuff like that, we should not wind up walking away feeling like we were sold a promise as opposed to a finished product. We should not be doing that. And Stephanie's right. It feels like the industry's go-to move is release first and patch later. Which that damages trust both ways between developers and the players who support them. So yeah, but the shareholders thing, you are definitely spot on about that, because the shareholders meddle, and the crazy part is, like, I can understand if the shareholders knew what it was like to do anything, that they're actually, like trying to push, but let's be honest, most shareholders don't know jack shit about anything that they're actually holding stake on, whether it's video games, whether it's televisions, cameras, whether it's freaking whether it's a website launch or whatnot. Most shareholders don't know shit about like what goes on behind all this stuff. All they know is at the end of the day, they're going to get some money just for spending like 10% of their attention on some shit.
You guys nailed it on the head. And the way we describe these shareholders, it is described as if you were to put a spoiled child in charge of something, because a spoiled child will make demands. They're not flexible about when the demands are made, and they don't suffer any consequences when something bad happens.
In the United States, we're kind of living under that, right? I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut up. Everyone knows I'm a patriot. I love my country. I served for my country. My dad bled and died for this country and stuff like that. I'm a patriot. But at the same time, yeah, I have questions. But I also have questions about this topic we're talking about tonight. So let's talk about for a moment the state of gaming hardware. Here's another sore spot, right? Because the PS5 and the Xbox Series X/S were supposed to be game changers. Maybe the Series S wasn't supposed to be a game changer. In hindsight now, thinking about it. But there were supposed to be these game changers that were delivering next level performance and graphics. And let's be serious here. I don't think I've been gaming for a long time. The first video game system that I was alive for that I can remember being launched was the Intellivision. Closely followed by the Atari 2600 and stuff like that. And when I think back about things like the ninth generation of console gaming had to be like the worst launch in history as far as the gaming industry is concerned. First off, how many people were able to like actually get their hands on one? Now, yeah, there was a pandemic. And the pandemic, turned life in the world economy upside down. Like supply shortages, is one thing. Scalpers. I'm so happy the scalpers are finally like, getting their asses kicked. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy, They really thought they were doing something with that, with the limited edition PS5. They thought they were doing something with a lot of these handhelds that are coming out, and I know they're trying to think they're doing something with the Nintendo Switch too. Y'all aren't. So stop driving up prices, because guess what? Nobody's biting now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and overall the general chaos of buying a console now, like, is it this is something I've noticed. It's hard to walk into stores and like marketing chains that were universally always had this stuff on the sales floor, and you never see it anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
But it's crazy though, because like all of us here have like a next gen console. Am I right? Like Stephanie, you've got both the PS5 and the Series X.
Mhm.
I have PS5. Pat, which one do you have? You have PS5,
I
right?
have, and the Series X.
And the Series X. Okay. The only reason why I don't have a
Mhm.
Series X is because I have a gaming PC. Like, what's the point? I have a gaming PC with Game Pass Ultimate. But the crazy part is like the PS5, and I've been a lifelong PlayStation guy. Like I got a launch PS1, and I've gotten a launch PlayStation every time, Not, and I'm not talking about the reiteration. So I'm not talking about the PS4 Pro, and I did not get the PS5 Pro. I don't feel the need to get a PS5 Pro in my personal opinion, but that's me. But yeah, like I've been with PlayStation since day one. Well, at least for the US launch, you know. Um, and for the first time ever, and this is after buying the $600 PS3 when that bitch launched. For the first time ever, I wound up asking myself like, was this worth it? Was this worth it? And not only that, like I also looked at it quantitatively, and at first I thought it's because I'm a PC gamer and I now prefer to play games a certain way. If I wasn't a PC gamer, I probably like this PS5 still wouldn't be getting turned on that much, in my honest opinion. It's wild.
It is. Speaking as someone who has never bought every single generation iteration of a console until now, like up until now, I get like probably every other Nintendo generation. I had a PS2 and then went to a PS4 Pro and never had an Xbox till now. So for me, every time I got something, A, was likely at a discount, but also B, I always felt that the purchase was worth it because the
Mhm,
changes in quality and
mhm,
graphics and performance were that drastic. When I went with the Switch is different. That's kind of an anomaly. PS5 and Xbox Series S. I'm not like I don't regret the decision. Like I always wanted to own one of everything of the current gen at the time, but now that I have it, especially compared to when I had the PS4 Pro, when the next generation comes out, like I realize I don't know the return for the money spent. I'm not sure if it's quite there.
Yeah, and also you got to think about something too, because like we're now in this weird state of flux now, to where like there's almost no such thing as console exclusives anymore. It's wild that we
Yes.
it's wild that we actually got here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like, but also I don't know. Like I feel like maybe I'm kind of. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm kind of a bad person because like I'm always going to be one, like, hey, like I don't really like the idea of exclusives because I feel like the more people that get it that can get their hands on it, it's always going to be a big win for us, the gamers and stuff like that. And I think Microsoft, like taking that step and saying, "Hey, we're not going to be really, really exclusive anymore," as far as our stuff goes. I felt that was brave, even though they they went around their asshole to like get the messaging out on this one. But
This is not an Xbox, by the way.
but yeah, like but I also feel like like if there's not something that makes these gaming consoles stand out, what's the point?
Yep.
Like everything can't be everywhere all at once. Like what I did
Mhm.
there.
Yeah. Great movie though.
Yes, it was. But at the same time, there's got to be something that like is the foundation or the glue for your product. Like when we think about, for example, when we think about Xbox back in the day, we think about Halo, we think of Gears of War, we think of Fable, we think of like stuff like that. We think of PlayStation, we think of Jack and Daxter, Uncharted, freaking The Last of. Why not just name off a whole bunch of Naughty Dog games? Like I didn't play. I was about to say well, Ratchet and Clank, like stuff like that, um, but yeah, those are things that definitely stand out, as PlayStation or Xbox, depending on respectively, depending on which ones, or stuff like that. But now it's like what the hell?
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, because I'm a PC gamer, we are also feeling the burn on this, right? Because GPU prices are ridiculous, and there's things going on like cryptocurrency, which you know what, I've never really been a fan of cryptocurrency, but I'm really like waiting for this shit to go down in flames for real. And we're also getting hit with the supply chain issues. And guess what? If GPUs are getting hit with supply chain issues, consoles are getting hit with supply chain issues because these same GPU manufacturers are making the chips in the PlayStations and the Xboxes and the Nintendo Switches and stuff like that. So if there's a silicon shortage, for us PC gamers, there's a silicon shortage for you guys as well. So you get. We all have to support each other. PC gamers, console gamers, even mobile gamers to a certain point. Even though like Snapdragon and and the Apple M chips and stuff like that, they're a different thing. But guess what? They're also susceptible to these shortages. And stuff like that.
No, we can go ship them off to their own island. Just kidding.
I don't know. It's just frustrating when the hard. I don't know. It's just frustrating when the hardware that you need to enjoy gaming feels like is locked behind a paywall.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, speaking of paywall,
well, I mean, okay. Earlier we talked about like an expense versus a luxury. Me being a PC gamer trying to buy a new graphics card, that's a luxury. I'm so glad I don't have to worry about. I don't usually run after the latest graphics card, so I'm not trying to get a 50 series Nvidia card. And I had a conversation with another PC gamer friend, and I was like, I love like what Nvidia puts out, so it's gonna take a lot for me to buy an AMD card. And AMD cards, the only thing that AMD doesn't really have, compared to these to Nvidia graphics cards, is RTX, which is ray tracing. Yeah, they've got something that's comparable to it, but it's not on the same scope as RTX. So I will buy. And this is gonna sound so bad. I will buy an AMD graphics card, for a budget build or for a secondary computer that's not going to be doing all the heavy lifting that my main computer does. And my main computer does a lot. As a matter of fact, I know right now I need to get ready to like rebuild this thing. But speaking of paying money, there's one more thing I want to touch on in this topic, and that's microtransactions and goddamn predatory monetization practices that's going on. It's rampant in the industry right now. And microtransactions, let's call this for what it is. Games like FIFA, Call of Duty, any game that has a loot box, whew, they're basically the poster child for prioritizing profits over players.
Pay to win, baby.
Yep. And I mean, I'm preaching against it and stuff like that, but I'm susceptible to it too. I cannot wait for Tekken 8's second battle pass to drop so I can buy it. I don't buy a whole bunch of DLC. Like,
isn't that a little bit different though, LeRon? So I didn't mean to cut you off, but like a battle pass with DLC, you're paying for like added content, whereas at least the way I interpreted microtransactions and those predatory practices is more like
on the pay to win scale.
Yeah, pay to win scale.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I don't know. The reason why I put battle passes in it is because like there's a large section of the gaming community out there that's like if you knew you were going to put this stuff in the game, then why are you making us spend an extra $15 to $40 for it? Year after year and stuff like that. Now the one thing I'm going to say, because I don't know, like I kind of, like I said earlier, we kind of know what goes on behind the scenes and stuff like that. Like, it takes money to develop this stuff, and if if we want to wait for them to get all this stuff out at once, then like we think the gaming build cycle is long now. Like it would be horrendous, because we talked about it last week with Mass Effect. Like man, like Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 came out within 2 years of the previous release. So within 8 years, all three Mass Effect games are out, and then they were able to like bundle it into a trilogy collection to re-release again on PS3 and Xbox 360.
Mm.
That's wild. That's wild because now it's almost like it almost takes a whole console generation for either a sequel or a follow up to an IP now. And by the way, now I've said that, like it just came into my head. It's going to make things a lot worse too, because guess what? Like most times these companies don't know what the new hardware is going to be. So it's going to be limited on the new hardware. If we're building PS5 games right now and the game won't be ready until the PS6 is launched and stuff like that, they're not building on PS6 hardware, which means that we're going to have dual launches, which everybody hates that. It's like, well, why are you building games for the old system and then selling it for a premium on the new system? Like the $10 price hike. Oh my god, I feel like that's another microtransaction, if I'm being honest with you. But that's room for another subject, another topic. But going back to this, right? For a lot of gamers, it seems like depending on the game you play, there's this constant push to spend more money on top of the $60, $70, $80 that you've already paid for the game. And I don't know about you guys, but that leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does. It's like you want to nickel and dime me, even though there's really no law that they can, because if it's your business, you can do what you want, but it really will piss your consumers. It really will.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know. I feel like it's the wild, wild west again. I don't know. When did gaming stop being about the experience?
I don't know. I just feel like this has been snowballing for quite some time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Very insidious, and then bam, it happens.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Like I'd have to do some research and dig into it, because I want to say mobile gaming is probably where this started, but I don't want to paint mobile gaming in a bad light, because I play a few games on mobile, and like I am totally in charge of when I spend money on a microtransaction. I am totally in charge of that, But I also know that some people have, like it feeds into their addiction. They enjoy something so much they gotta get the most out of it, and like that's where it could become predatory, because like it's like always dangling the carrot in front of the donkey. Of course, the donkey's gonna follow it, and stuff like
Well,
that.
it's
I'm
not
not calling
just that.
I'm not calling gamers donkeys, by the way.
Some can be. But I think a big slice of that pie is for kids or adolescent gamers,
Yeah.
because it's rampant in Fortnite with the skins, Roblox with Robux, Minecraft with Minecraft coins. I've definitely bought some for my son when he's like done his chores and stuff, and I look at the stupid shit that you buy with that came from my real money. I'm like, are you fucking serious? And with kids, like it's like, well, it's just a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there, and you don't blame the kid, because the kid doesn't know any better, and kids are a lot more susceptible to be like, ooh, shiny, I want this. Ooh, shiny, I want this.
Mm-hmm.
True. Kids don't have the ability to buy the $60, $70 game, but they have the ability to at least, suggest buying the $5 to $10 add-ons. So
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely a little predatory practice there aimed for kids.
Yeah. Okay, so here it is, because like I know we spoke about a lot of stuff that felt like negatives. Technically, there were negatives and stuff like that, but it's not all doom and gloom. In all seriousness, there's still plenty of stuff to be hopeful about. Indie developers out there killing it. By the way, as a matter of fact, if you ever want to talk indies, like I am on this show with two of the best people to talk to you about indies right now, Patrick and Stephanie. Like, my God, you guys have taught me a lot about indies, where I have a new respect for indie studios and all that stuff, and stuff like that. So yeah, there's that. They're out there creating games that are bursting with creativity and heart. So if you think about like Hades and Stardew Valley and stuff like that, which by the way, I know we ragged a couple of weeks on Hades, because like Hades always does this pre-release thing for their games, stuff like that. But still, like even in pre-release stage, they're fucking awesome.
Well, yeah, they're the anomaly. Like, well, I don't know if I want to use the word anomaly. Like, they're a good example, the good poster child of an alpha or pre-release game. But unfortunately, there's a flood of these quote unquote pre-release games that you pay for on Steam that aren't as of high quality and or never get
or fall by the wayside.
Exactly. So.
Yep. But I gotta say, like one thing about like, I think one of the best things about indies is like, like with the creativity and imagination that most, like Sea of Stars, for example. Oh my God. That's a game that reminds me why I fell in love with video games in the first place and stuff like that. Like it ticks so many boxes, and I'm pissed at myself that I did not beat it in its current cycle, which is why it's one of my 4 games this year that I promised myself I was gonna beat. Just go back to, I can't remember what episode of Boss Rush podcast we talked about this stuff, but go back to that one. It's something about the storytelling and the artistry and just the fact of being able to have fun, and that's all us gamers are really asking for in this day and age right now. But on the same wavelength, we're also like pushing for like real change. Like we want to see like growth, stuff like that. Like as much as I love remakes and remasters, can I get a brand new game? As much as I love them, I feel like what we're talking about here tonight is stuff that is kind of stuff that is like the sequel to other podcast episodes, because we talked about this, like remakes and remasters and what they can actually do for the industry and stuff like that, But we also know that everybody gets tired of seeing like certain games getting remade or remastered,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to leave it at that. We're not naming any names tonight here. If you want to name names, name them in the comments.
Yes.
So yeah,
Twice The Last of Us.
You just had to go there, didn't you? You just had to.
I did.
Oh my God!
I still think remastering a game from like less than 5 years ago is, very unnecessary.
Oh my God! Like Pat put salt, baking soda, and lemon juice in that thing and just pasted it in the wound.
I am rubbing it in, and then I'm smacking it in too. Like I'm tenderizing that wound with the salt, sugar.
Yeah, for real though, there's a lot of work to be done, but I feel like the passion's still there, and that's something that's worth holding on to. As far as us being gamers, and a parting thought here, as gamers, we're not asking for the impossible. We just want games and hardware that feel worth the time, the money, and our energy. Ultimately, the industry's success did not happen by accident. Like it was all built on the loyalty of us, the players. Of us, the people who want to see these things and want to experience them and stuff like that. But that loyalty is not unlimited. So to the developers, the publishers, and the hardware makers out there, you guys need to step the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling you to do this, but maybe a focus on innovation, having some transparency with the community, and actually listening to what the players want will actually make you the money you're looking for. Should I drop the mic?
Yes, do it.
Actually, hold on. Chasing quick profits at the expense of player satisfaction is losing the game.
Ooh, very nice.
Now I'm going to drop the mic.
Bam. There you go.
They don't want us to walk away. If we walk away, there's another gaming crash.
Mm-hmm. And that the industry is already on thin ice anyway.
For real.
All the layoffs.
For real, yeah. All right. Sound off in the comments. Hit us up on our various socials and stuff like that. Talk to us. Like, what is the thing that gets under your skin, and do you agree with us? Like, we need to call these people out for quality and innovation in the gaming community. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next topic. It's going to be a real quick one because, all right, if you guys didn't know, there's a state of play happening. It's February 11th at the time of this recording, so state of play will happen on February the 12th. So definitely, like, if you are a PlayStation gamer, or if you're not a PlayStation gamer but you just like games in general, just go ahead, check that out tomorrow. It's airing at 2 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Oh,
5 p.m.
CT. That's
Yeah.
huh?
5
Yeah.
p.m. Eastern.
It's fi-
Yeah.
5 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, I looked at the CET and I keep forgetting what time zone that is. Isn't that Britain? No, GMT is Britain. Oh well. Anyway. So yeah, there was an announcement today. Like, it actually went down over on Twitter. Yeah, I dead named that. Yeah. But the one thing about it was the announcement did not include any hints about the contents of the event. It was so cool. This is the first state of play that Sony's doing for 2025. And we're expecting it's going to give us a good look at what Sony has in store for the year, for later in the year and beyond. But you guys have any predictions? This is kind of what we do.
Normally I would have.
Say there's a Resident Evil coming. It's been a while since we got a Resident Evil announced, and
is it the Code Veronica remake?
No,
it's probably going to be the RE1 remake.
But do you think?
No,
why do you
think? Be 9.
Why do you think?
Okay, yeah.
Capcom wouldn't put that in their showcase they just had?
Because all the other Resident Evils were actually announced on a Sony showcase.
Okay.
Because they have that partnership with Sony. With Resident
Evil. RE4 was announced at a state of play, or it was announced at a showcase. It was announced at the summer showcase for Sony.
Well, then I hope so, because that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah. Now I don't know if it's going to be 9 or if it's going to be a remake of 5. Because you have heard the rumor that 5 had gotten an ESRB rating.
Mm-hmm.
I did hear about that.
I don't know if that's just exclusively for Xbox. Because I don't think 5 ever hit the Xbox system.
If I didn't know any better, I'd swear the cat just attacked her just now.
Dude, she's bringing me a random earplug, and she's making me play fetch. All day, every day, she'll bring me some obscure household item and demand to play fetch with her. Sorry. But, I hate to say it. Well, I don't know if it's hate to say it. I just am completely out of ideas of what this could be, because I haven't really.
I'm right there with you.
I don't think I've gotten any hints, not just from this announcement, but for the last year, about what's significant in their pipeline, other than
I can think of
Naughty Dog's new IP.
Yeah, which I don't think we're going to see anything for that tomorrow. I would not be surprised though if we see the next trailer for Last of Us Season 2.
I think we're going to see maybe a Ghost. Maybe we'll get the Ghost release date. So a Ghost of Yotai, I could see.
You think so? Because I mean, like, I feel like I don't know. I feel like what they showed us at the Game Awards was basically just enough to make us salivate. But I feel like whatever. I feel like Ghost of Yotai is. I feel like we're kind of far off from news.
People have been speculating Ghost of Yotai was going to be projected for summer. So,
oh shit!
I mean,
that's wild.
It's 2025, so people thought it could have been summer.
That's wild. I'm looking at that being a holiday release.
Also, Tsushima came out during the summer, so.
Oh yeah. I'm also with Stephanie. I don't really have any like expectations or whatnot because I don't know. Like, and it all kind of goes back to like the last topic we talked about. Like, it's been disappointing, but also because I did mention about remakes and remasters, we might start seeing some stuff about like the God of War original trilogy. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that's like brewing out there or whatnot. But given that Sony did not give any announcements to what we could be seeing or possibly thinking about and getting hinted at tomorrow for the show, there's also a possibility it could all be just third party.
Could be.
If it was third party, they would call that a partner showcase. Like they're very good at they've been very good at distinguishing whether it's a third party or a
Or indies.
state of play. And state of play usually means it's a mix.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, I'm sure there'll be
I don't
plenty
know.
of PSVR 2 titles that we won't be playing.
Are you sure about that? uh, uh, it's just I don't know. Like I thought this was gonna be such an exciting topic to talk about, and as soon as I started talking about it, I was like, oh boy, it just felt like all the air got let out of my
Well,
tires.
it's the actual showcase itself I am excited for, but that's
Yeah, I'll be
because
watching it tomorrow.
I have no idea what to expect. I did
Yeah.
also see on X that Kojima will be talking more about Death Stranding 2, but it's going to be at a different event. So
He's gonna be talking about it at South by Southwest, which I've always wanted to go to one of those.
exactly. So I feel like because that announcement was made, I feel like that almost not confirms, but I just feel like all right, it's not going to be at the showcase.
Okay, hold on here. State of play confirmed for Wednesday. 40 plus minutes of PS5 news and updates.
That's a decent amount of
Well,
time.
there was a Metal Gear Solid Delta leak. Well, not leak. Trailer. Okay, they say it was leaked, confirming the 28th of August 2025 release, which is funny because like that was the date of like Snake's mission in that game. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Nice.
You know. Yeah. Yeah, but there's nothing really I don't know, like people are buzzing thinking it's gonna be Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yote. People are speculating that one.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Pat. If we see something substantial on Ghost of Yote, I'm gonna send you a $10 Starbucks gift card.
Whoa.
You do not have to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can send it to me instead.
Card will be fine though.
Oh, PSN card. Okay. All right. Yeah.
And
Like
a $10
I don't know. Like I'm looking forward to it though, and there's nothing that should keep me from checking it out tomorrow at 5:00. There shouldn't be.
Same here.
Yeah.
I have work, but I'm sure I'll have it playing on the side.
You guys are PlayStation gamers. Are you getting your free time for for the downtime?
Huh? Absolutely. Our free 5 days for the 24 hours without PlayStation that I still managed to play games on digitally, even though the internet said that wasn't a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to turn this over to Stephanie because our manager of the week is a featured article from her. So Stephanie, you got it.
Speaking
you got it
of
if you want it.
Various uncomfortable and touchy subjects, I decided to write a banter about how the potential U.S. tariffs could impact the gaming industry. At the time that I wrote it, a lot of things were in flux. I was reading a lot about what was proposed, but as you know, with anything like that, there's a lot of back and forths. Sometimes tariffs are proposed, but then there's a discussion after, and then it gets rolled back. So keep in mind, this discussion is really just how they could potentially impact. Because again, maybe by the time this comes out, something else will have changed. So I discuss the credibility about these U.S. tariffs, and I review kind of the basic meaning behind what a tariff is, which essentially, Midnight, you're distracting me. I'm trying to have a serious discussion about taxes on imported products, and the one that primarily impacts us here are the tariffs against China. I brought up the example of honestly the Nintendo Switch 2 that many are afraid of, but Nintendo has moved a lot. The Nintendo are afraid of, but Nintendo has moved a lot of that here in the United States we won't see an impact on availability or pricing on the Switch 2. Also, there were a couple of hiccups with the United States Postal Service. whether or not they'd be receiving mail and packaging from China. But since February 5th, they confirmed that is still happening. And Play Asia, a company that I buy a lot of games and merch from, did release a statement that at present there will be no major disruptions at this time. But with all that being said, things may change, and there are still a lot of things that do get manufactured in China, whether that's certain chips or product, like putting the product together. So there's a lot of unknowns still out there. So I guess overall, I feel that, in some ways, I don't see any major short-term impact, despite kind of the hupsa on the internet, but long-term, definitely yet to be seen. But I do feel like it is important to stay informed with unbiased news sources, which sometimes I feel like is basically impossible these days. So I recommend just reading several bits of news pieces to get perspectives from all.
Even better, just read it from the Boss Rush Network. We are the most unbiased opinion out there.
Amen to that.
So, but just to kind of keep an eye on the pulse. But so far, it seems that nothing should rock the boat much at this time. But again, like I said, we should just keep an eye on China specifically. So just kind of that. I don't know if either of you have just particular thoughts on the impact on the industry or not.
I think right now, especially if we think of the Switch, is obviously the main thing that we're looking at because of the fact it's coming out this year. But I think Nintendo, once it has that price set, the problem will be that that's what people will expect to get the system for. So stores can't push the price up. And so if they are getting hit with tariffs, they're the ones that are getting hit. That's going to be, paying for the tariff and not the actual consumer this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree on that.
Yeah.
I feel like
I don't think it's going to hurt Nintendo one way or the other because again,
I don't think it
goes to the consumer.
I don't think it's gonna. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna hurt Nintendo. If I'm being honest with you, I feel like basically out of all the things, like number one, like the United States as a country is having a better reaction about the tariffs than we did last time. Because the last time a lot of us were in the dark about this stuff, and a lot of us weren't really affected. A lot of us thought we weren't affected until we were affected. Like people couldn't buy cars, for example. Especially brand new cars, and there was a spike of like used car prices, like going up and stuff like that. I will say this because my company, we're an IT company, and we do a lot with electronics and hardware and stuff like that. Like we got hit by tariffs in a wild way because like a lot of the stuff that we bought has to come from overseas and stuff like that. So for us to get the stuff, we had to pay the customs charges for it, which that's not something we're used to doing. So, there's stuff like that, but now, like, it seems like I'm not going to say everybody got educated. I'm just going to say the right people got educated about tariffs. So there's been a lot of pushback. Also, I do like the fact that the world is pushing back on these tariffs. Basically Canada, China, and Mexico is like, try me. Stuff like that. So it's interesting, and basically, Stephanie, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but basically what tariffs really are is just taxes on imports intended to protect domestic industries. That's what tariffs originally were. Like, it was supposed to protect American values and interests. It was supposed to keep the economy free and fair. Well, not free, but definitely fair.
Yep.
That's not how it's being used now.
I do feel like that's kind of another point I was trying to dance around in a nice way, where tariffs were initially meant in a good way to help us help the country. Like it's it had like a genuine good purpose for us, and I feel like now like a it's not even being used with that intent, and b times change. Like we can't use the same approach all the time. So I don't know if that's really going to work the way that it did hundreds of years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, yeah. I didn't mean to step away, so I feel like I missed a lot. So I don't want to say
No,
a
it's
lot.
all right. I covered a lot of it. I covered the discussion of the Switch 2. I covered vendors like PlayAsia and staying up to date with various resources. So I pretty much kind
It's
of
wild.
gave my little
I used to buy
spiel.
from Play Asia a lot, and now I
Hmm.
barely go to their website. And it's just because like my taste and my habits as a gamer has changed. That's all. Like man, like I used to live on Play Asia.
Oh, I have a problem. I usually buy twice a year. I buy like a whole bunch of stuff from them.
Mhm. Yeah, but definitely one thing and because I heard you mention it, as I was getting plugged back in, definitely like like try and get all your news and information on this as unbiased and as neutral as possible. Which means yes, step out of your comfort zone. Don't just go to Fox News or NBC for this shit. Like and sure as hell stay away from CNN.
Yeah, and you know what I do? Because I feel like there's really at this point no true neutral news source, at least in the US. So I just go to like at least two, if not three, and just kind of read but all of them and
BBC is
kind
the
of
best.
BBC?
BBC is the
Yes.
best.
I like AP myself.
Yeah.
Huh?
AC. I like or AP myself, the Associated Press.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel they're
Associated
pretty.
Press. Yeah,
Hmm They do good with unbiased.
yeah. The Associated Press is good. Also, yeah, yeah. Basically, like if your news is funded by a network or an organization, or a network for sure. I can't say an organization because the Associated Press is an organization, but but yeah, basically, if it's funded by a network, if it's, and also like be careful because New York Times and some of those independent ones that are supposed to be independent, like they've got high bankrollers behind them.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
you want to go to sources that are not going to suppress your news or filter you the news that you're thinking of. I don't know. Maybe we should look for that. I can't remember who it is. Like uh like they will sponsor people. Uh, it's places where you can get like. I'll look into it. And I'll talk about it next week as far as like where to get news from because I know somebody out there is listening or watching us right now. It's like, well, where is the best place for us to get news besides bossrush.net? All right. All right. Well, we're almost done here. But before we go, of course, gotta let you know what we've been playing this past week. So Pat, you were out last week, so
Oh,
you go first.
all right. Well, out of my couple of weeks hiatus here, I have played a few games. The one that I was really happy to play was Ender Magnolia: Bloom in the Mist. I talked about its sequel or its prequel game, Ender Lilies, a couple months back, and absolutely loved that game. And I have to say, Ender Magnolia is still in the same boat of being a very excellent 2D Metroidvania game with a very beautiful art style, absolutely wonderful music, and a very interesting tale of that's kind of like doom and gloom, but it also kind of brings back a little bit of hope as well. But I've really enjoyed Ender Magnolia a lot, and I think it like the Ender series has now become probably at least one of my top three Metroidvania style game series.
It's a beautiful game.
Hmm Uh, I absolutely like the game's gameplay comes from finding these creatures called Homunculi, and you play as a tuner who fixes them after they've been corrupted from these fumes. That a lot of terminology, but and then they kind of fight as your side, and they become like one of your button prompts. And the thing that makes this game slightly different from the first game is where the first game, every single well, in that case, your knights were one button is their attack, and that's it. Now the Hermurkuli have 3 different attacks that you can set. So there's less things to choose from, but each one has more things to do, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely love the setting where the first one was more of a kingdom uh, bohemian style. This one kind of falls a little bit in a industrialist region. It's almost like 18th century, not 18, 19th century, early 20th century London. That picture of like the Industrial Revolution where things are dirty, the slums are very like broken down. There's a lot of industrial things going on. It's got a really different setting that I really appreciated because usually you get a lot more medieval and like gothic with these kind of games, and it was something a little different. But if you enjoyed the first one, um, I highly recommend this one. If you haven't played the first one, I do recommend playing the first one because the story does tie in a world sense. Um, there's terminology, things like the blight, that has carried over from the first game, which is a also major event in this game as well. That it's probably good to play the first one to know a little bit of what happened in the world that is now taking place in the current game. That is, I believe, a couple decades after the first one, but in a different land. But yeah, it's probably one of the best games I've played so far this year that I've beaten. But I've only beaten 4 games, so I feel a little behind on my game beating here.
Nice.
Other than, other than that, I've also been working on Tales of Grace's F, our April book club game, and one of the kind of middle Tales games. It came out originally on the PlayStation 3, and then actually, did it come out PS3? I know.
Tales of Grace's F?
I
I
don't.
think it did. I think it did.
Yeah, I think the original came out on the PS3, or else it came out on like the PSP and then was ported to the PS3.
I
Because I
can't
thought
remember which
the PS
order, but I know back then most of the Tales games were making it to the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, I know Tales the Gray's Dead, but I just don't know if that was a remaster or if that was the original that hit the PS3. I
Mm-hmm.
guess I'd have to look. But this Tales game kind of has the classic. It's a battle system that was introduced in the Tales of Symphonia, where it's a called the semi-auto battle system, where by pushing buttons it will enact your character to kind of run up and attack bad guys. Otherwise, you can switch it over to a more manual setting where you have control over the movement of your character on this like almost 3D landscape. That it like rotates around, so it kind of gives it the assumption that it's 3D. Um, but the story itself is a very political story so far. It's about kingdoms fighting for resources and the squabbling about the people who kind of get thrown into like the middle of it. But so the story itself is not, I would not probably put it in the top like 5 Tales games. But it's still it's still a fun game. Tales games have beautiful worlds and very imaginative characters, and this game's no different. There are some really good characters that are in this game. Uh, but I would not really call it like my top 5 Tales games.
Mm-hmm.
It's good though, just not amazing. But I am having fun with it. Um, and if you like RPGs with a slight more action to it, and definitely that JRPG feel, that is a game I highly recommend. Support the Tales so that we can get some of the better ones out there, because they say they're going to remaster a hell of a lot of these games. Sorry, LeRon.
Oh no, no, no.
Because you don't like remasters.
Oh, I did not say I don't like remasters. I did not say that. Like I love remakes and remasters as long as there's a point.
Yeah. I mean, some of these Tales of Grace, last time we saw it was like 20 years ago. So,
Yeah.
it's good to get remade. And then finally, I am trying to get myself through Ghost of Tsushima
Oh,
for the
me
second
too.
time.
Oh, not my second time.
Yeah. I've trying to get through this for the book club. It is a very long game, and I'm having a love and hate relationship. There are times when I'm going through the game and I'm like, oh man, it's so gorgeous. I'm getting lost in the world. I'm appreciating the story more, but it's also like I have played this game before and I don't really want to play 60 hours of this game again. So I want to do everything, but at the same time, it's like I want to focus on other things. So that's my love-hate relationship with it because it is a good game, but there are some parts that get repetitive. Like a lot of the missions are basically get to this point, either stealth through or kill everyone inside, story, move on. That's kind of the formula, even though it is a good story. And I am playing it in Japanese this time, which I think is actually a lot better than playing it on English. Like I feel like there's more emotion coming from the Japanese voice actors than there was from the English ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But again, it is an amazing game. If you haven't played Ghost of Tsushima, definitely play it. This is one of those games that is falls on the must play list. Um, and I look forward to talking with it with actually someone from the Boss Rush and a few other newcomers here. So we'll have fun with that book club.
Awesome. Is that it for you?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Steph?
I'll keep it quick and wicked, but first I wanted to
Say quick and
share
wicked.
Quick and Wicked. I got the
Wicked.
collector's edition of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2,
Okay.
and one of the spotlights was with someone who helped craft it. And let me tell you, this is one of the pieces that came with the collector's edition. It is this fantastic statue. It has heft. That's when you know the quality is good. And even my son's like, wow, they put details into the muddy rocks and everything. So this is a pretty badass. Oh no, I think Midna broke it.
Oh
Oh
no.
crap.
Oh no.
Well, I think I fixed it, but I haven't
It's
played it yet because I know
attachable.
that's gonna, a big game, so that's gonna be up next on the docket. But I wanted to share the statue. Like the collector's edition is fantastic, and it's gotten rave reviews. But what I have been playing, speaking of mobile gaming and the people that I shit on for doing that, but I play Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. So I'm part of the problem. That also has optional pay to win as well, but I do not engage with the pay to win. I just
You
wait my
really
time
don't need
and
to. I mean, that's the
no.
beauty of
I mean,
it.
yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm like, all right, I'm okay with that. I'm still going through Okami. I'm about a little over halfway now. I beat Orochi the first time, and I'm like, oh crap, there's a whole lot more to do.
You realize that, oh
Um,
shoot, he was only a third of the story.
yeah, so I was like, F. I mean, and I'm not saying F because I don't like the game. It's like I have other games I need to play, and I just feel like there's going to be a buttload of games that'll be dropping soon. I need to get this done. And then lastly, I finally picked Gory Cuddly Carnage back up because I've really fallen off finishing the game. That's a much shorter game. I forgot how fun it was. It's just pure chaos, bright colors, neon colors. The F word is flying around. It's so unabashedly badass and crazy. The boss fights are fun. For a person that's bad at gaming, it's very forgiving. And it's just hilarious as fuck. I truly love this game. It's unfortunate that I had to put it down, but thankfully it's a game that I can easily pick back up. So that's kind of like my PlayStation game I'm playing. Okami's the Switch game that I'm playing. And yeah, that's it.
All
How
right.
about you, LeRon?
All right. Well, I mean, not much has changed as far as my list goes. Like the one thing that was added to it is the Monster Hunter Wilds, this the second beta. And by the way, like even though we're calling it the second beta, it's basically the first beta with two new monsters added in there. They did not do anything different to the actual beta itself. Like there's no improvements that they boasted about like are that are being implemented to the game, stuff like that. I didn't even get to play. Let me stop lying. I played it, but I didn't get to play it like I wanted to play it because I had to work most of the weekend. So
Mm.
I only played like one monster, and that was Gypsaros, a returning old school monster, which I don't think we've seen Gypsaros since Monster Hunter 4. And I know, and people are acting like Monster Hunter 4, was like Monster Hunter 4 is a long time ago because like World Iceborne, Rise, and Sunbreak have dominated the Monster Hunter franchise for like the last 10 years. Um, so yeah, but yeah, we hadn't seen Gypsaros since Monster Hunter 4, but that also confirmed one thing because if Gypsaros is in Monster Hunter Wilds, that also means, and people have seen it now, that also means the apex predator of the Gypsaros is in Monster Hunter Wilds, which is the Nursilla, which is like a spider monster. Which the last time we saw that creature was in the Monster Hunter movie.
Hard pass.
Love
Hard.
that creature.
Oh yeah,
That creature gave me
yeah,
the best armor.
huh?
I love the Nersilia. It 'cause just out of the armor aspect that you get out of it, it was a really
The
cool looking set.
female armor was better in my opinion, but that's also because most the Nursilla that we encounter in Monster Hunter are technically the females of the species anyway. So yeah, like if you love wearing dress armor and you want to look like a pretty princess and you debutante and whatnot, yeah, that's the armor to wear. I don't like dress armor. Like I love all the female. I think the female armor looks better than the male armor for the most part. But I cannot stand any of the ones that look like dresses. I can't.
Well, good. Works for me because I generally play as a male appearing character and I'm a tomboy anyway. So good. I don't have to ever deal with these things.
Hold that thought though, because like
No.
one of the thing in Wilds though is like you can cross dress. Like you can create a male character, but you can also wear female elements of armor.
Still don't like
Yeah, that's new.
female elements of armor. So I will not be dueling with this spider-like atrocity, abomination.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, still playing Monster Hunter World Iceborne though. Like it's been a nice like trip down memory lane playing this. Like so like it's fun, and unfortunately I have to say goodbye to it in 17 days. Because like it's gonna be hard to get me back onto that, given that there's fresh new Monster Hunter to play and stuff like that. Not saying I'm gonna completely forget about it, but at the same time, it's not going to be like my most played Monster Hunter game at that point anymore. Yes, I'm also playing Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Like I am really glad I'm sticking to this game. So like it's probably going to be. I can't say it's going to be beaten by the time Monster Hunter Wilds releases, but it should be fairly. It should be beaten fairly within that approximate date. So stuff like that. So yeah, I'll finally have a game beaten. First game beaten for 2025 by that point and stuff like that. And yeah, still messing around with Final Fantasy 7 remake. Because I was at my buddy's house over the weekend and saw him playing Rebirth, and I was like, oh my god, I need to play this game, but I need to beat the other game. So yeah, I'm tracking pretty good. And, if work's not getting in the way, I'm actually playing some games and having some fun and stuff like that. So yeah,
Nice.
yep. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this up. This has been episode 262 of the Boss Rush Podcast. We want to thank you all for watching and or listening to this episode. Remember, this is the flagship podcast for the Boss Rush Network, so we're always going to be here, no matter what. All them other shows can come and go, but we will always be here. You can catch new episodes every Thursday on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube. You can get this show ad-free, along with other perks like the exclusive pre-show for us. And all this is for as little as $1 over on Patreon. So please, patreon.com/BossRush Network. Also check out our merch and find all of our other content over at bossrush.net. Pat, Stephanie, you guys are awesome, as always.
Right back
See you,
at you,
LeRon.
sir.
Yep. Real quickly, any thoughts, comments? Sound off in our comment section on the YouTube side, or hit us up over on our socials and stuff like that. We'd always love to hear from you. And we love you. So yeah, play games, be better. We talked about some heavy topics tonight, especially about like quality and innovation in gaming. But also just remember, we have the absolute control over things and stuff like that, and we can always reach out and talk to all these companies, developers, and publishers and stuff like that. Let them know how we feel. If we shout it hot, loudly enough, they're going to listen to us. So never say die, and also just have fun. Just have fun and stop sending people death threats.
Yeah, that don't get people nowhere.
All right, we love you guys. We're signing off. We'll see you next week for another all new episode of the podcast. Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.